This is Dr. Anastasia Chopelas with another episode of Scientific Healing. So today what we're going to do is switch gears a little bit. So far I've only talked about physical ways to support your immune system and physical ways to help you boost your immune system. And now I'm going to switch into something that is very extremely powerful. So your emotional and mental health go a really long way to helping your body be basically bulletproof. The reason why I'm talking about this now is, of course, we've gone through this 3-month period or so where the pandemic started to really rise its ugly head and scare a lot of people, and then we were quarantined and stuck with people in house and not being able to go out and visit. A lot of people really need that human contact to feel whole and healthy, and they were lacking that. So now the thing I want to talk about and emphasize is emotional health and how that affects your immune system. A lot of people talk about negative emotions. So negative emotions, there aren't any real negative emotions. You either have high energy emotions, which is like joy and happiness and enlightenment and courage, or you have low energy emotions, because they both have more than zero energy. And in the low energy, you have guilt and shame and anger and sorrow and all of those emotions that you're feeling. So why is that? Why are these important? So we have the capacity to feel all of those emotions. And, a lot of times we talk about mob mentality. Why do people get so incited emotionally by the mob, right? So during this quarantine time, I am particularly sensitive to the feelings of others. They just kind of invade into me. I just don't seem to have the ability to filter them out very well. So I have to do constant energy tricks to really keep myself clean. The thing with that mob mentality, it's like everybody, an emotion has a particular frequency, right? And it's just like two tuning forks. If you have two tuning forks that are exactly the same frequency and you ring one and it's vibrating, the other one will vibrate. If it's close enough, it'll start vibrating. So now you have two tuning forks vibrating. You can stop the first one, the second one will keep ringing. And that's how emotions are. That's how mob mentality works. It's like one person comes in and is, exuding these strong emotions, and we then receive them and we'll start feeling them and not realize that they're not ours. Like people start talking about, yeah, that's so unfair. I don't like that. This is really, we need to do something about it. And then everybody's feeling the same way, even though if you were to take each person aside, do you really feel like that? And the person will go, no, I don't know what came over me. So just to give you an idea, emotions fall into 4 categories. And then everything else is a nuance of it. Those 4 categories are fear, happiness, sadness, and anger. Those are the 4 main ones. And everything else is a nuance of it. Like I remember it is mad, sad, glad, and fear, right? It's kind of like a silly way to remember it. But then like anger emotions could include bitterness, guilt, hatred, resentment, jealousy, and sadness emotions are grief, discouragement, sorrow, depression, heartache, and feeling forlorn, right? So you can see that they're like kind of mixtures, like anxiety is a mixture of fear and worry and anger kind of all rolled into one, right? So each emotion has its own frequency. And like I said, one will ring and then everybody will feel it. So since the whole country was feeling like all oppressed and everything, I felt like I was trying to run through some honey in winter, right? It was cold and viscous and I just couldn't get going. And I did like these energy exercises every day to help release it. Now, the reason why these are so important is that each of the emotions that you're feeling, like anger, for example, or rage, is attached to your various organs, right? So rage will sit primarily in the liver and the gallbladder, and that's here on the right side, and it is along what people call the Chinese meridians. It's where the energy runs. It's actually a series of receptors are running along there, and the energy runs. You can measure it with a device, and you can see where the energy is, just like you can see where your body field, starts and ends, and that it's layered. You use an induction loop, which on a little voltmeter you can measure your field, just like you can measure the Earth's field. Right? You can turn a loop this way or this way and move it and get the needle to move on the voltmeter. People that are feeling those emotions will then, after you've had them for a long time and people around you have them, and the reason why this happens is if you're feeling an emotion that you don't like feeling, like anger or guilt or sorrow, like nobody wants to feel sad all the time, right? So what'll happen is you take that emotion and you stuff it away and you start ignoring it and you keep pushing it in your body. And the place that sorrow ends up is here in the chest area, the heart area, the lungs, the breasts, the heart. You'll feel it up in this area. And it feels like you can't breathe. So you keep pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down and not releasing it. And by holding that all in, it starts damaging your body. What happens is it vibrates too low. Those emotions vibrate too low to allow those organs and systems in your body to function optimally. So they'll affect your immune system. So people that are depressed and angry and upset, they have a lot less immunity to things than those that are happy. So laughter is very soothing, and joy. One of the things that we can do is release those emotions without having to go through all of the hundreds of steps that, people go through, like years of talk therapy and, talking about how you were raised and your mother and your uncle and, the bad things that happened to you and how you got punished over things and all the unfair things that happened to you. This stuff happens to everybody. Like, we all get it. So everybody then processes it differently. I processed it. I took it to heart. And I kept stuffing my emotions, and by the time I was 40, that's one of the things that made me very, very, very ill, even though I was doing all the right things for my health. All those physical things I talked about in the last 9 times I started talking, if I had done just some of the things that I'm going to talk about right now, that would really help release those pent up emotions. So one of the things to do is really simple, and that's the link that I have up, is to do a meditation that is guiding you to release your emotions. And I have one. It is free. You can get it on my website. It's only 13 or 14 minutes. And what it does is it helps release them off of the meridians while you are sitting in a quiet state. So meditation is really awesome. The great thing about meditation is it rewires your brain. The calmer you get your adrenal glands, the more it rewires your brain to handle things and makes you more resilient. Right? So that's the first thing that's great about these little mini meditations. The second thing is that the guided meditation will have you drop a grounding cord. So your electrical system is your entire nervous system, and it's got this network of nerves that come off of your spinal cord and come into all parts of your body. I think you have some incredible number of nerves. And I think you have 60,000 miles of nerves in your body. That's how amazing your body is. you imagine that line of energy going down deep into the earth, because the earth is a grounding, right? So the earth grounds everything. So whatever is going on energetically, it also happens physically and vice versa. There are analogs in both worlds. So you drop that grounding cord down and you just let it go. And you just imagine that your entire nervous system is draining out all that excess nervous energy and letting it all go. And then the next thing you do is, if you've got a lot of anger, you attach your liver and gallbladder to that grounding cord, and you just let all of that energy of the anger go down the grounding cord, right? And I usually just kind of push it along, but it allows that to happen. So that's one of my key energy healing tips, is to just let it go. So to make your health bulletproof is to release that stress out of the body. So number one is let it go down out of the grounding cord, especially in one of those healing meditations. Another one is to do stress relieving activities, and there are a lot of them. And I talked about this before. I have 26 stress busters. Is that some of them are, like getting, one of the things that helped me get well was to ask my children for 3 hugs a day each. Because hugs and human touch, especially loving, unconditional love, human touch, makes a real huge difference, because while you're doing that, you can let all of those old emotions go. Another one that psychologists have learned a long time ago is that a person that is in motion cannot be depressed. You cannot be depressed while you're moving. There's something about that. So they would take their depressed patients for walks and talk to them about it. And for some reason, it helped release that depression a lot more readily and a lot sooner. And some of the other ways to let those all go, aside from that, is to improve your posture. When you are bent over and depressed like this, you're depressed, you'll bend over and you'll be sad. Your face, you'll have this look on your face. Doing that actually makes you sadder, right? So, but if you pull your shoulders back, take some nice deep breaths, and imagine that your heart area is open, that you're trusting that you're going to be okay. Your heart area is open. It gives you confidence, and put a smile on your face. So there's a two-way conversation between body posture and facial expressions and your mood. By forcing the smile on your face, you will feel 1,000 times better. Trust me, I've done this lots of times. Like I'll notice myself with like a tense expression on my face, and as soon as I go, what am I doing? Let's smile like this and make do some funny faces and then make myself laugh, and it really relieved that feeling. Like it just let all of that old tension go. Sometimes I even put my arms out like this and let it go. And then, of course, aside from some of the other tips I gave, like, sleeping and drinking enough water, is to listen to soothing music. Easy listening, classical music, something that's very enjoyable to you. It has a very high frequency, especially if you can listen to some musicians will retune their instruments to the healing vibrations, meaning, for example, instead of tuning their C to 440 hertz, they'll tune it to 432 or 444, and that somehow rings the healing in with the body, and people seem to be soothed. And I'll put some links up of a pianist who downloads her music, and she retuned her piano, so she has some healing music. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is focusing on gratitude. Most of us humans are designed to focus on being scared and wary and nervous, because that was our survival technique, right? We survived by wondering, where the last saber-toothed tiger was, and what was going to, was there a bear going to jump out at the cave at them? or were the natives chasing them with their bows and arrows, right? So that's old stuff. We don't need to worry about that anymore. So thinking those fear thoughts all the time really can bring your moods, your emotions, and your inner energy down. By focusing on gratitude, and I'm going to talk about one last thing, by focusing on the gratitude, some people even keep gratitude jars, and they have a little sticky papers or a notepad, and they'll write one thing they're grateful for in the morning, and they'll put it in the jar. And so by the end of the year, they had 365 things that they were grateful for the year. Every time you focus on the positive, it uplifts your spirit, right? It uplifts you and lets it all go. It doesn't mean that you can't have negative emotions. None of this means that you can't have it, right? You are allowed to feel your emotions. Even Jesus got mad at the hypocrites, right? He got mad at the hypocrites. But it doesn't mean that you have to keep wearing the anger. So our low energy emotions were designed to get us into motion, right? The anger is a message to you that there's something off, right? There's something that needs to be taken care of. Your boundaries have been violated, right? If somebody comes in, like if a thief comes in and steals something out of your house, your boundaries have been violated. And there are lots of different boundary violations that can happen. That anger needs to be there. You can't hold it down. It needs to be there, it needs to be expressed, and you need to get into action. Once you get into action, you've resolved it and you're done. And it can be fast. Like I can go up and then going, okay, this needs to happen, and down, and now I'm ready for action, right? It's the same thing with sorrow. It's the same thing with guilt, right? Your guilt is telling you, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that again. That wasn't right. And then you set into motion to make up for what it was that you did that you felt was wrong, right? So all of those negative emotions were designed to get you into action so you can be your highest and best self. I just wanted to say that. I'm not advocating not feeling your emotions. What I am advocating is releasing those emotions after you had them and needed them. So that is a healthy life, and that will also promote your immune system. Primarily, your emotions will make a really huge difference in your life. And when you can process through them and not have those same ones, because I used to operate in fear, right? I used to be afraid of everything. I used to operate in fear. I don't have that anymore. So I hope that was helpful for you today. Thank you so much for listening. If this was useful to you, give it a thumbs up or 5-star rating, share it with your friends, and be sure and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next week on another topic for boosting your immune system. This time it'll be tip 11. Okay, see you then.